I didn't notice the town at first. One minute I was driving along the highway, surrounded by empty plains and the occasional silhouette of a tree against the night sky. The next, my GPS glitched, spinning my location in circles as the screen flickered, and I found myself on a cobblestone road leading into a place I didn't recognize. The sign read, "Welcome to Ashridge." Below it, faded letters whispered an ominous population 0. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I told myself it was a prank, kids messing with the sign. But as I drove deeper into the town, the silence pressed against my ears like cotton. No crickets, no hum of the engine, just nothing. The first thing I noticed was the clock tower. It loomed over the town square, its hands frozen at 12. The buildings surrounding it were crumbling. Shops with shattered windows, houses with peeling paint, doors hanging from their hinges. My headlights cast long shadows across the cracked pavement, but they seemed to recoil, as if the light wasn't welcome here. I rolled down my window, half expecting to hear some sign of life. Instead, I heard my own breathing, amplified and unnatural in the oppressive quiet. It was then I realized something was wrong. The air was still, almost too still, like the world itself had paused. Even the breeze felt muted. Against my better judgment, I parked my car near the clock tower. Something about the place demanded exploration, though every fiber of my being screamed to turn back. But the road I'd come from had vanished. The cobblestones stretched into a void of fog. Panic settled in my chest as I stepped out of the car. The first street I wandered down was lined with decayed storefronts. A bakery displayed loaves of bread that looked fresh yet untouched, their golden crusts intact despite the rot around them. A toy store's shelves were stacked with dolls, their glassy eyes reflecting my flashlight beam, their heads tilted as though they were watching me. I tried knocking on a door. The sound echoed unnaturally, as if the wood absorbed it and spat it back. When no one answered, I peered through the window. Inside was a living room frozen in time. A record player spun silently, its needle hovering above the vinyl. A cup of tea sat steaming on a table, though the liquid never rippled. It was like walking into a photograph. As I moved deeper into Ashridge, the fog thickened, curling around my legs like living tendrils. That's when I saw them. At first I thought it was a trick of the mist. Dark shapes lingered at the edges of my vision, but when I turned, they disappeared. Then I heard it. Faint footsteps, soft and deliberate, matching my own pace. I swung my flashlight behind me. The beam sliced through the fog, but nothing was there. Still, the sound persisted. I turned a corner and stopped dead in my tracks. Standing in the middle of the road was a faceless figure. It was human-shaped but featureless, like a mannequin carved from shadow. It didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood there, its head cocked slightly as if it were studying me. "Hello?" My voice sounded hollow, swallowed by the silence. The figure tilted its head further but remained motionless. I backed away, my pulse pounding. As I turned, more figures emerged from the mist. They surrounded me, their faceless heads swiveling in unison, their bodies eerily still. My flashlight flickered, and in the brief moments of darkness, the figures moved closer. I bolted. I ran until my lungs burned, weaving through alleys and side streets, but the town seemed endless. No matter how far I went, I always ended up back at the clock tower. Its frozen hands loomed above me like a taunt. The figures didn't chase me, not physically. They didn't need to. Their presence pressed against my mind, filling my thoughts with whispers I couldn't understand. Each time I tried to rest, shadows crept closer, flickering at the edges of my vision. I screamed into the emptiness, but the only reply was my own echo. Desperation took over. I broke into one of the houses, slamming the door shut behind me. The air inside was suffocating, thick with the smell of dust and something metallic. The furniture was perfectly arranged, as if the occupants had left mid-conversation. On the dining table was a note, its ink fresh. The clock never moves, but time always does. Escape is a circle. Before I could process the words, the shadows seeped through the walls. They pooled into the room, coalescing into a single towering figure. Unlike the others, this one had a face, or rather, the absence of one. Its hollow eyes bored into me, its mouth stretched into a gaping void that emitted a low, guttural hum. I stumbled back, clutching at my chest as the air grew thinner. The figure raised a hand, and suddenly I wasn't in the house anymore. I was back in the car, engine idling, headlights piercing the fog. For a moment I thought I'd escaped, but the town sign loomed ahead, its words glowing faintly in the mist. Welcome to Ashridge. Population 1. My blood turned to ice. The faceless figures lined the streets, their heads tilted in unison as they watched my car roll forward, as if the town itself had claimed me. I couldn't turn back. The road behind me dissolved into darkness, leaving only one path ahead, a circle leading back to the clock tower. Now, every time the clock strikes 12, I hear faint whispers calling my name. And when I look outside, the shadows are closer, waiting.